Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Nurul Aini. My student number is 12220404152. Okay, this video is for my middle test of Global Englishes, and here I will answer 12 questions from Mr. Oli. Okay, without any further ado, let's start for the first question. The first question is, what is Global English and how does it differ from traditional English language teaching approaches? Global English refers to the way English is used around the world as a tool for the international communication. Not just tied to native speaker in countries like UK or US, traditional English teaching often focus on imitating standard British or American accent, British or American English. In contrast, global English teaching recognizes that English belongs to everyone who uses it and different accents, styles, and expression are valid. For example, Indian English or Singaporean English is seen as just legitimate as British in many global contexts. And second question is, how does global English impact the way we teach English grammar and vocabulary? Global English encourages flexibility and understanding that there isn't just one correct version of English grammar and vocabulary. Teacher, teacher focus more on clear communication rather than strict, strict adherence to native speaker norms. For example, while while traditional English stress perfect grammar, global English accepts that in international context, saying "it came yesterday" might still be understandable, not a big problem. So the third question is, how has English continued to evolve in modern era? English keeps evolving by absorbing words from technology, pop culture, and global interaction. For instance, terms like selfie, ghosting, or unfriend, or anything else, it didn't exist a few decades ago. Also, online communication like texting and memes has influenced new style of English that are more casual and rapid. The fourth question is, why is understanding the history of English important for language learners and teachers? Knowing English history helps learners and teachers understand why the language is so irregular and diverse. For example, understanding that English borrowed many words from Latin and French after the Norman conquest explain why we have multiple words for similar things like ask and inquire. It also shows why English is more flexible and accepting of change compared to other language. And the fifth question is, what are the main factors that contribute to language change? Language change before language change because of contact with other cultures, technologies, social change, and even youth innovation. For example, globalization introduced new food words like sushi into English. Social media accelerated slang creation, where words like suspicious spread rapidly. So six is, how does language variation manifest in different regions and community? Language variations show up in accent, vocabulary, grammar, and even the way people structure sentences. For example, in the US, people in the South might say "yo" for "you all," while in the UK, someone in Liverpool sounds very different from someone in London. Even within a single country, different communities create their own way of speaking. So the seventh number is, what are the benefits of English being global language? The major one benefit is easier communication across countries, especially in business, science, and education. It's also allow people access to more information, media, and opportunities. For example, academic research is often published in English, allowing scientists from different countries to share knowledge. The next is, what are some challenges associated with English as a global language? Challenges include inequality, Not everyone has the same access to quality English education, which can create social or economic gaps. Also, the dominance of English can sometimes endanger local language and culture. For example, young people might prefer using English online rather than their native language, leading to language loss. So the next is how do the native how do native English varieties differ from one another? Native English varieties differ in pronunciation, vocabulary, spelling, and even grammar. For instance, British English says lorry for truck and spells color as a color, while American English use track and color. In Australian might use slang like arvo for afternoon, which isn't common elsewhere. The next is what is the difference between dialect and a language? A dialect is a variation of a language used by a particular group, often differing in the pronunciation, grammar, and vocabulary. A language, however, is usually seen as a broader system of communication with its own rules. The distinction isn't always clear and be political. People say a language is a dialect with an army and navy, meaning that social power often decides if something is called a language. The next is what are what are New English and how do they differ from traditional in native English variety. New Englishes are forms of language that develop in countries where English is a second language, often through colonization such India, Nigeria, or Singapore. These English have their own norms, influenced by local cultures and languages. Unlike traditional English varieties, they often blend English with local expression and grammatical patterns. And for the last questions is what are some example of new Englishes? Example like include in Indian English where people might say I'm having a doubt, meaning I have a question, or in Nigerian English where I am coming can mean I will be back soon. In Singapore English, often called Singlish, includes word like um lah or at the end of the sentence for emphasis, like okay lah. The meaning is it's okay. Okay, maybe just it for me. Uh, yeah. Sorry for any mistakes and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.